Captain Midnight.
This video is brought to you by Audible. So, in a weird way, this video is kind of an atonement for one that I made back in 2019, How the Storm Changed Everything. I had a good time with that one, and I stand by all the positive things I said about it, but I did basically call it the first good episode. The one that proved Avatar really knew what it was doing. In retrospect, I think that was a little unfair. While The Storm is a truly great episode, and one that lays out all the most important groundwork for Zuko and Iroh, probably my two favorite characters on the show, I did really do a disservice in dismissing Jet, the 10th chapter of Book 1, and definitely a highlight of these early episodes. So that's what I really wanted to get into this week. Hopefully I can finally give Jet and company their due. Let me know if there's anything else Avatar related you'd like to see me cover down the line, and if you enjoy it, why not drop a like? Enough of that stuff though, let's just get into the episode.
You promise not to hurt us?
Nice work, Sokka. How'd you do that?
This episode begins with some really well-written scenes between our main trio, and I gotta say, I had forgotten just how defined and nailed down these characterizations are, even this early on. Honestly, in the first few episodes, I can find Sokka really grating. He's loud and buffoonish, with most of his antics being really broad comedy, which is fine, this is a kid's show after all. But episodes like Jet are important for changing our perception of Sokka while still staying true to what we've seen from him so far. He's really immature here. He's insecure, bossy, and flies off the handle at the drop of a hat. I think what's fun about this episode though is he's also completely in the right. Jet is exactly who Sokka thinks he is, and Katara and Aang don't take him seriously enough to see it. I'm not saying this is super complex stuff, but it is smart writing. It's one of the first major steps in Sokka's journey to becoming the person he desperately tries to be. He does have a long way to go, but even this early on, he's showing that he is smarter and more discerning than even his own sister gives him credit for. And I like that even this early on, Sokka does have some knowledge to use. Not only does he immediately see through Jet's plan, there's also that little scene where he uses his knife to hear the vibrations of footprints in the forest, something even Jet can appreciate. This doesn't turn Sokka into like a master tracker on a dime or anything, but it does show that he's not incompetent, and whatever skills he picks up, he really does try to learn from and put to good use. But I should probably talk a bit about Jet himself. When you zoom out and look at the show as a whole, he's a deeply tragic figure. After losing his parents to a brutal Fire Nation attack at 9, he's come to see the world in very black and white terms, which Sokka witnesses firsthand. To Jet, there is no such thing as an innocent Fire Nation civilian. There is really only the people who murdered his family, with no distinctions worth making. Now Jet is a fun anti-hero here. He's cool, he's got these unique hook weapons, he even has a little tree fort base that gives his whole gang a laid-back Peter Pan and the Lost Boys feel. Specifically the Spielberg movie Hook, which this seems to take some stylistic inspiration from. Weirdly enough, that starred the future voice of Zuko as the leader of the Lost Boys, but I'm getting off track here. Point is, I'm not surprised he's a favorite secondary character for a lot of fans out there, but his actual plan is pretty chilling for a Nickelodeon show, and it really throws a bucket of cold water into the face of an otherwise pretty fun episode, striking a balance that I think works well. I mean, Jet's big plan is to literally use Aang and Katara's power to murder countless people in the town outside his forest, something both of them easily fall for, leading to a really striking and sad moment where the town is flooded, before the reveal that Sokka managed to evacuate the townspeople. Now, in a lot of other shows, this plot might be a problem. If a similar scenario happened in like Xena Warrior Princess or The Witcher, it would make the lead character look really stupid. With just a few simple lies, Jet outwits the pair easily. But here's why it works. Aang and Katara are kids, and that really comes through here in a way that's believable and feels true to where they came from and how inexperienced they are. There's a fun scene early on in the episode where Katara mocks Sokka for saying he's kissed a girl when he's not exactly fooling anyone on that front. But of course, this is the first real journey outside of their little isolated area for either of them, and Katara is even younger than Sokka. It makes sense that she would find Jet as dashing and interesting as she does, just as it also makes sense that Aang would automatically trust him. One of the strengths of Avatar as a show is the ability to look back on these stories and see that there was real growth. The Katara and Aang of Book 3 are not the same characters who would buy into Jet's lies with no questions asked. Little by little, they matured and grew into people who would see right through this, because let's be honest, it's a pretty obvious ruse when you get down to it, but I think it works here really well. There's some shows where taking a step back and really looking at the work as a whole can actually hurt my opinion of it. A good example would be The X-Files, a show that has so many incredible standalone episodes that I can revisit anytime. But when I actually piece together the overall narrative of the show, from one of the leads leaving to the central mystery getting more and more convoluted every year to those terrible revival seasons, it kind of becomes obvious to me that X-Files is a show that's best enjoyed by just looking at its best episodes and ignoring a lot of the rest. Avatar isn't really like that. It's a show where the okay to good episodes can actually be improved by placing them within that larger context. Jet is a good episode, but it becomes even better once you're able to appreciate just how it was used to deepen these characters and strengthen their bond. Jet is not the best episode of Avatar's Book 1. To be honest, I still don't think it's as good as The Storm. Like, I never loved how they showed Sokka saving the town. It's told in a really quick flash of exposition, as we see drawings of him talking to the townspeople, and it feels pretty rushed for time, which it probably was. But I would have enjoyed seeing that scene between Sokka and the old man play out for real, because the earlier scene of him getting robbed and the look that he gives Sokka afterwards is just so effective. That minor issue aside though, this is a really important episode in a way that I think I managed to overlook before. Returning to it really did this episode a big favor, as we're able to look back at where these characters were and how they slowly but surely changed, in ways that felt earned, exciting, and often really clever. I love to be able to look back and see just how much care was taken into building these characters, piecing together a coherent whole out of both episodic storytelling and season-long story arcs. I think that's much harder than it looks, and Avatar pulls it off better than the vast majority of shows attempting to do something similar, even or especially the ones aimed at adults. I think that's worth celebrating, and episodes like Jet are the building blocks of that structure, allowing these characters to grow in small ways that may not feel huge in the moment, but have an amazing payoff down the line. I'm glad to be talking about Avatar this week because it lets me once again recommend something that all fans of the show should check out: Avatar: The Last Airbender – Rise of Kyoshi. It follows an Avatar 2 generations before Aang, and it's a slightly darker take on the Avatar universe. Plus, it has nearly perfect user reviews on Audible, and the sequel is already available as an Audible exclusive. But that just scratches the surface, as their catalog just gets bigger and bigger, so there's always something new to check out whether you're into fiction, biographies, self-help, and way more. Their Plus catalog goes far beyond audiobooks and features great audio content in all sorts of formats. It's a really good deal, and I like that I can easily download these titles and listen to them whether my phone is online or not. Honestly, I really look forward to using my Audible credit every month. So go to audible.com/midnight or just text midnight to 500 500. That's audible.com/midnight or text midnight to 500 500.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once, because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started, because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes, too.